following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report. Prime time here for, what is today? It's May? April? Why can't I ever get my months and dates right? April 6th, 2017. Damian Nelson sitting alongside.
We're the 6th of April?
Yes, 4/6/17.
How about that?
Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius the Tiberius, the alleged backyard, one-time knockout, straight-edge, hardcore, Hall of Famer hero. And David, we are coming off the heels of the 33rd WrestleMania in Orlando, Florida, just this past Sunday. We, of course, were there all weekend long. We'll talk about those festivities and activities in just about a while, but what a week it was in Orlando.
Sunshine and butterflies all over Orlando.
I saw not a single butterfly.
Oh, I did.
Did you?
You at WrestleCon, you didn't see that one person with Kazarni and the butterfly gimmick?
No, I did not.
Oh, you were too busy with Fight TV and your new friend SoCal Val.
Oh, there we are. That professional jealousy comes back into play.
Right.
Well, folks, a lot happened this past weekend, including at WrestleMania 33, which, of course, is this week's big story. The Undertaker is the biggest of biggest stories, as it seems as if he has called it quits and ended his WrestleMania streak because his streak was damaged yet again by one Roman Reigns, who got the 1-2-3 pinfall victory over The Undertaker this past Sunday night. David Hero, this obviously monumental in the world of professional wrestling, but let's back up a little bit and talk about the match itself.
Yes.
Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker in the headlining main event of WrestleMania 33.
It was the top of the card, which was shocking. It beat out how many other title matches?
You know, all these matches, we talked about going into WrestleMania how there was backstory and all the matches meant something. Every single match that occurred was important at WrestleMania, and that's incredibly rare.
It is.
This being the most important of them all for what happened at the end.
The torch was passed to Roman Reigns. A lot of people are upset it wasn't Cena, but let's be honest. Cena has, what, a year, maybe 2 years left? Roman Reigns should have another 5 to 6, 7 years run left in him.
If not more.
Well, let's just figure 5 to 6 to 7. And shocking, yeah, but I mean, let's face it, Taker's in his 50s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the young dog, he's going to get his bone. And he did.
The match itself, though, bell to bell,
I thought it
what
was
did you
solid.
think?
I mean, for as limited as Taker has been lately with all of his injuries, he needs to get his hips replaced. You know, and let's be honest, I mean, during the week, we met with officials, and they all said Taker's beat up. They want him to be done, basically. And they're going to get their wish, and he'll go into the Hall of Fame next year in New Orleans, which I think will be freaking humongous.
Where we thought he'd go in before. Did you notice The Undertaker's limited abilities in the bell-to-bell action in the matchup? How so?
He's just beat up. He doesn't have the same... When you can't use your hips for your strength, okay, because his hips are that bad...
So he doesn't have Shakira hips?
No.
His lie?
Well, they don't lie. They just don't tell the whole truth. And, you know, with Roman Reigns being the beast that he is, he's a big dude, it's hard for... If it was a smaller wrestler, maybe like one of those 205 Live guys...
Here we go.
...that can create motion for Undertaker, it would have been better. But let's face it, that's not going to work.
Was it a bad match, in your opinion?
No, it wasn't. It told a great story.
What story was that?
It was the changing of the guard.
You know, I think that to elaborate a bit more on what that story was, is it was clear. The beginning of the matchup, Undertaker showed dominance. Roman Reigns didn't quite know what to do, and then something changed 3/4 ways through the matchup where the Undertaker then realized, I think in the match, the story that was being told, and the commentary by one good old Jim Ross, by the way.
That was magic.
Told us what was happening in the ring, and that Taker was realizing that it was over.
And that's what made the match special, because Jim Ross is a storyteller. Okay? He's not going to plug what's trending on Twitter. He's not going to talk about the other nonsense and shenanigans going on throughout the night. Jim Ross took the heat off of that match.
For us at home. Now, I was there live.
Yes.
It wasn't as obvious, but it never is when you're there live. But once watching the matchup on the WWE Network, it became so much more clear.
What a nice tribute, though, to Jim Ross and his wife, Jan.
It was.
That he got that moment.
And a lot of people said WWE was sinful for not acknowledging JR's wife's passing. Little did all of us know that they were in contract negotiations, and there could not have been a better tribute than his new 2-year contract with WWE, which was in the works before her passing. But, you know, we're going to talk more about this at another time, Jim Ross's return. But 3/4 of the way through that matchup, The Undertaker was signaling in his actions, his motions, and his lack of offense that he realized it was time to close the door. And Roman Reigns, he forced, almost sort of like Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair in the same venue in 2008, he forced Roman Reigns to end the match and end him, thus, as you said, passing the torch that Seth Rollins brought to the ring with him in the matchup with Triple H earlier in the night.
Seth Rollins had a prop. That was not...
That was a torch. He had a torch.
But it wasn't a real torch.
It was a proverbial torch, if you will. But anyways, Roman Reigns, the guy, the man, only one of 2 men, Brock Lesnar being the other one, to defeat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. And it would translate over to the next night on Raw in Orlando when Roman Reigns single-handedly had all of you, all of us, the entire world, right here as he indicated when he looked down at it in the palm of his hands for 5 whole minutes on Raw. Roman Reigns was made at WrestleMania 33.
It was magic, because here's why. Boo him all you want, call him all the names you want. At the end of the day, he retired the dead man.
How should WWE further handle The Undertaker's retirement? Because as obvious as it is, nothing happened on Raw or SmackDown that told us definitively that it was done.
When has Taker ever done anything like that? He doesn't go to the Hall of Fames. He doesn't go to any press functions.
Aside from his tribute to both Ric Flair and, which happened off air, but was recorded and showed later on WWE programming, and his tribute to Paul Bearer, and in that case, he really didn't break character. Has he ever broken character?
No,
but at this time, do you not think WWE should tell us, yes, for sure, The Undertaker is done?
They did tell us that, because when
they didn't use those they didn't use definitive words.
They didn't have to, because they had his wrestling gear in the middle of the ring.
Correct.
As they tore down everything in Orlando.
Correct. Edge retires, he comes in the ring, cuts a promo. He can do that because he talks. So does Undertaker, by the way. It made sense. That made it crystal clear Edge was done. It is not crystal clear that The Undertaker was done. To you, perhaps.
Of course it is.
Do you think it is
And
to
it
the
should be
entire
to all
audience?
of them. I'm telling you, it's done.
You can tell me it's done, but WWE, I think, has a responsibility to tell the audience,
No,
yes,
they
it's
did.
done.
They showed the pictures. All the sets were broken down. It was still in the ring.
You may realize that.
No, I'm smart.
But the fans have not
understand
said
it.
or heard Undertaker is done. I think WWE has a
think
responsibility
he's
to do
done?
that, and
What
they
do you
will do
think?
that. I think he's done, but
Okay, then. It's our duty to educate them.
I think he's done, but they have not clearly closed the door and said Undertaker has retired. That was his last
But he would never
match.
do that.
I said they have not done that.
But they would never do that.
They would do that. Absolutely, they would. How do you close the career if you don't?
When Hulk Hogan left for WCW, when Ultimate Warrior left, when guys leave, they don't say, hey, they left.
Undertaker didn't leave. He's retiring.
Right.
It's different.
Yeah.
Every time anyone has retired, WWE has clearly stated this
Here's
person
why.
has retired
His
as an
wife
in-ring
was sitting
performer.
ringside.
Which we kissed on the way out.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
She's never been ringside before.
So that contradicts everything you just said about him breaking character.
No, but I'm saying that's a different moment.
That's this week's big story, ladies
Why
and
am I
gentlemen.
being
It's
cut
time
off?
now to move into the WWE Raw report. And Raw was very active as expected this past Monday night. And the headline, I guess, the big story, if you will, from Raw was the return of Finn Balor. The Balor Club back in the tag team main event on Raw this past Monday night. And the fans were
is your
very,
big story?
very happy to see him. Was there a bigger story on Raw Monday night?
Absolutely.
Which was what?
The Hardys.
They returned on Sunday, and that's later in the run
First
sheet.
time
If you were to
for
read
the
it, you'd
first
know we
time
were
in
going to
9
talk about
years
that.
They're on Raw.
Yeah. For the first time in 9 years,
But
they were at
if you're
WrestleMania.
watching the show, I said Finn Balor was going to be back on Monday night.
You said he should be, yes.
Yeah. Much
So
like I
again,
said, Taker
we know he
retired.
came back. Now we're talking about the fact that he did come back, involved in a tag team matchup.
But
Chris
you know
Jericho
what?
taken
If
out
Chris
earlier in the night.
Jericho's not hurt, Finn Balor doesn't come back Monday night.
So they didn't plan on Finn Balor coming back. That just sort of happened.
So you're saying the Chris Jericho injury was premeditated?
Wrestling is a controlled situation with a premeditated outcome, yes.
Oh.
Anyways, I'll discuss this, folks. Seriously, Finn Balor back from injury. He had torn labrums back in August. Remember, he relinquished the WWE Universal Championship after winning it for the first time at SummerSlam and has been out ever since. He did come back and came back with a vengeance. Got that big pop, of course, from the Raw After Mania audience. I, for one, was happy to see the endorsed Finn Balor back in WWE. I don't know where he goes from here. Absolutely, I did. I don't know where he goes from here, but it was a night of returns on WWE Raw.
He's going to go to a program with Kevin Owens.
How's that obvious?
Because that's who he went after.
I still think that it makes most sense for him to go after the champion because he never lost it. Whether that be Brock Lesnar or not, he goes after the champion because he never lost it.
He needs to go after, who's the U.S. champion right now?
Kevin Owens.
Go after Kevin Owens. That's the best title for him, unless he wants to go after Neville, who is the king of the cruiserweights.
Neville, who got a win at WrestleMania as well over Austin Aries.
I would love to see Finn Balor and Neville.
Here you go. Why? Because Finn Balor's a cruiserweight, nothing but a cruiserweight. He's under 205, so he should be part of the cruiserweight division. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
High flyers.
Yeah, huh?
That could have an amazing match. You don't think they'd have a great match?
I think they'd have a tremendous match.
But why don't you want to see it then?
I didn't say I didn't want to see it. I said you're saying it because you think Finn Balor's a cruiserweight. Because he's not part of the cruiserweight division.
He should be.
Okay.
His numbers are right.
Uh-huh.
So, okay, question.
Yes.
So, like, when you fill out the job application gimmick, what do you click for race?
Other.
But you can't.
Why not? I'm not black.
Other. What are you?
Is this black? This color is not black. I'm
mocha.
other.
It's mocha-ish.
My grandmother taught me that I am other.
Really?
I'm not black.
Okay. Well, if Linda had to fill it out.
Whites aren't always white. I'm other.
But you have to put down what
I'm waiting
you
for my
are.
ancestry report, by the way, from Ancestry.com, my DNA report.
I cannot wait to see that thing.
Really? I want to confirm I'm Irish.
Well, you are from the mountains of Ireland. Got the tan.
Big news as well continues on Raw with big debuts, call-ups, if you will. The tag team of the Revival, now part of the Raw roster.
Top guys. I love the Revival. They're the best tag team in wrestling. Hands down.
The best. Better than DIY?
Yes.
Hashtag DIY?
Yes.
Really? We've seen some great matches between those two teams in NXT.
Because they're old school and they know how to cheat. They know how to cut off the ring and they do false tags. And they're wrestlers.
Here's what's great. You've got teams like the Revival, teams like American Alpha, teams like the Usos, which are arguably the three top.
SmackDown, those two.
Agreed, but those are arguably the three top tag teams in the WWE right now.
The Revival run circles around Enzo and Kaz.
We know that coming up next week, there is going to be a shakeup amongst the rosters. Maybe those three tag teams, which are, I think, the best in WWE, end up on the same brand, and we have a tremendous tag team division on one of the shows.
Mac showed up?
I always love when Daddy comes home.
That sounds weird, but I get it. But he seemed to be having
It's
fun.
time to shake things up again.
He did, didn't he?
He did, and there will be a shake-up on Raw next week. We're going to talk about that actually tomorrow on Feedback Friday, right here on Fight TV and our YouTube channel. Additionally, well, as you talked about earlier, David Hero, the Hardys returned at WrestleMania. Matt and Jeff Hardy returned at WrestleMania to win the Raw Tag Team titles in a ladder matchup, and they were incredibly well received by the crowd at the Citrus Bowl. They were also very well received, obviously, by the crowd on Raw Monday night, where they retained their tag team championships. This is a tremendous opportunity for the Hardys to end where they started their careers.
It looks like they've been re-energized. Jeff looks like he's having fun again. Matt is still broken Matt, because you can read his lips as to what he's saying when he comes to the ring, and the delete, obsolete, all that stuff. I'm so happy for those guys. Nobody wants to have their last match in TNA, especially when you've been to the big dance.
Here's one thing, is the thought that went through my head at WrestleMania is when the Hardys broached that stage and looked out and saw 75,000 people, saw this huge production around them. It's all about a homecoming, but as much as people say, and I understand burnout or whatnot when people leave WWE for whatever reason, when they come back, they realize that there is nothing else that matters. And that's not a knock to any other wrestling organization. It is just that significantly different in WWE.
It's a big difference. WWE is this gold standard when it comes to everything sports entertainment.
Your overall thoughts on Raw last Monday night, David Hero?
I enjoyed it. I thought, but here's the thing. It's the Raw after Mania. A lot of surprises, a lot of debuts, a lot of call-ups. It's Raw NXT right now. They got to sustain it going forward. And hey, let's not forget about our boy Braun Strowman. What a stud.
What a stud indeed. And continuing the conversation here, ladies and gentlemen. As a matter of fact, we're not going to continue the conversation. You know, I'd like to go to Linda Kay right now. I'd like to go to Linda Kay right now with this week's Event Center. Take it away, Linda.
Welcome to the Event Center. I'm Linda Kay. ROH makes its return to Milwaukee once again at Turner Hall on April 20th. Tickets are still available at papstheater.org. And WWE invades Chicago with 3 huge events the weekend of May 20th. NXT Saturday night, ringside with JR, Sunday afternoon, followed by Backlash Sunday evening. Tickets for all 3 events are available at Ticketmaster.com.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason. Because it means love and devotion for one's country. Love. But what really makes up this country of ours? What is it we love? It's the people. Almost half the country belongs to minority groups. People who are lesbian, African American, and bi, and transgender, and Native American, and proud of it. After all, what's more American than freedom to celebrate the things that make us, us? This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, disability, sexuality, race, religion, and any other labels. Because the second any of us judge people based on those labels, we're not really being patriotic, are we? Because love has no labels.
Hi gang, Mean Gene Okerlund here on My 24, and you're watching the Pro Wrestling Report. All of the news about wrestling, not only here in Milwaukee, but throughout the world. Stay up to date. Join us every Saturday night.
Big shows coming to Chicago. David Hero in conjunction with WWE Backlash, I believe it is. Yes. Jim Ross coming to town at Zany's in Rosemont.
If you haven't been to a Jim Ross show, you should go.
Ringside with Jim Ross. We're going to talk much more about Jim Ross on this week's PWR Primetime Extra podcast, which is available immediately following this show on our iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher radio channels. That's the PWR Primetime Extra podcast, where we continue the discussion of what we didn't get to and elaborate more on what we did get to right here on this program. And speaking of getting to, let's get to, David Hero, this week's SmackDown report, where SmackDown, much like Raw, also had a lot of debuts and surprises, including first, the debut of Ty Dillinger. You know, apparently, he's a perfect 10.
Apparently.
Defeating Kurt Hawkins.
I don't watch as much NXT as I should. I don't understand why everyone loves him so much.
Okay.
Do you get it?
I think he's got a good gimmick. I think that his wrestling ability is good. He's got a good look. He has been there long enough to become a star in NXT, and for whatever reason that he now has a chance to show his talents on SmackDown.
And he's the perfect 10.
That's what he says. That's what they say.
And he works.
That's what I read.
Yeah, well, but you would know. You're the journalist.
I'm the broadcast journalist.
Yes.
I don't know if I'd make him a perfect 10. I'd give him 6 stars. Perfect 6.
Perfect what?
6.
6.
6.
Oh,
IX.
I'm like, I don't know that well.
POC.
Okay,
6.
I got you.
With that, also a big debut, a bigger debut, one that a lot of people have been expecting, and I think we saw the tease of it happening at NXT TakeOver on Saturday night. But Shinsuke Nakamura also makes his debut on SmackDown.
Do you think that's a letdown for some people that he's on SmackDown?
I don't think so at all. I think SmackDown's the brand to beat.
Because you know, Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles have history.
They do have history, a ton of history.
Now they're both on the same brand.
They are, which is great, but they're on the same brand for now. Part of the Primetime Extra podcast, I'm sorry, tomorrow, yes, part of the Primetime Extra podcast is we're going to talk about what's going to happen when things do get shaken up next week on WWE programming.
Why shake it up?
Why?
Yeah.
Cena doesn't have SmackDown anymore. SmackDown doesn't have Cena anymore,
Why
rather.
not?
Cena is taking time off. Nikki Bella is taking time off.
But how much time?
I think truly John Cena is now a special attraction in WWE.
Well, good.
No longer a full-time performer.
Earned that.
So it's time to shake things up for whatever reason as they see fit, and they're going to do so next week. And maybe those two don't stay on the same brand anymore. One other thing that perhaps they're going to shake up a little bit is the women's division on SmackDown, because Naomi made her return, as you know, last week. She then won the women's championship at WrestleMania and then defended it against Alexa Bliss this past Tuesday on SmackDown. Naomi, really, really huge presence in Orlando, from Orlando at WrestleMania, but now the star of the women's division on the SmackDown brand.
She is. But it's only until Eva Marie comes back.
Is it?
Yeah. She's due back soon, isn't she? She's been gone forever.
Emma debuted on Raw finally Monday night.
She did. How about that?
Also, Eric Rowan making his return to SmackDown, teaming and aligning with Bray Wyatt, while Luke Harper and Randy Orton showed their continued allegiance this past Tuesday night.
Didn't Luke Harper hate Randy Orton?
Yeah, Randy Orton, this is all 6-month plan for him to get after Bray Wyatt.
So Randy Orton's plan was to steal Luke Harper from Bray Wyatt.
Well, no, his plan was to become world champion, I believe. But
you know what? Can we talk about that for a minute?
We're going to talk about that on the podcast, because as you see right there, we're 30 seconds remaining in this segment.
I have been cut off this entire show.
No, later on, right here, it shows you everything we're going to talk about on the podcast. So
I'm sure if
we can talk about that.
Here, she can say whatever she wants.
Well, she'd be following the run sheet, so absolutely. You know, I had so much fun hosting on Fight TV with SoCal Val.
Keep that in mind. You're going to go over your time.
I'm a broadcast journalist. I know exactly how much time I have. You just went over my time. And we're SoCal Val. Thank you to everyone at Fight TV. That's FITE Fight TV. We brought you some tremendous and amazing coverage from WrestleCon of WrestleMania weekend. 4 hours total, 2 hours over 2 days, Friday, Saturday. Both available right now on the Fight TV app. Also want to thank our correspondent, Jason Solomon of the Solomonster Sounds Off podcast, who did a tremendous job as well with the interviews on that broadcast from
Mike Weber asked if I wasn't part of the whole show.
Yeah, and he did so, and he was cheering and clapping when he said, why aren't you part of the show? He realized it would be a nice flowing show, one that would stay on time, one that would stay on topic, and someone who would actually answer the questions.
I answer every question.
Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for this week's hot news and some releases to talk about. Firstly, one half of the vaudevillains from WWE, Simon Gotch, no longer with the company. A mutually agreed upon release. Terms were met on that release earlier this week, and it's interesting, WWE in their statement saying that this was a mutually agreed upon release.
He wanted to leave. So does that mean now it's just a vaudevillain?
I think it does actually mean that is the case now.
He's screwed. Well, he could team up with that cruiserweight guy with the umbrella thing.
That's
Jack Gallagher.
Gallagher, yes.
Yeah.
Why would they team up?
They look similar.
How so?
They look British.
How do you look British, David Hero?
Well, you have
or should I say Mr. Trump?
You have pasty skin. You have the Mary Poppins
Sometimes
umbrella.
I know I shouldn't ask because the answers are going to be worse than the implied statement.
They're not pasty?
Not all of them. You're generalizing an entire...
I'm saying the vaudevillains.
You did not at all say that.
I'll
play the tape. I'll read the tweets. You did not say that. You said the British.
I said they look British.
We're continuing in hot news, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron Rex, formerly Damian Sandow of WWE, Aaron Rex of TNA Impact Wrestling, revealed at WrestleCon this past weekend that he is no longer with the company, saying that he is not retiring, but it is indeed time for him to move on and look at different avenues. This is a bit disappointing because I think what he did in TNA showed a lot of promise. Impact Wrestling.
He wasn't there that long.
But I still think what he did for the time he was there.
What is Spud going to do now?
He's ring announcing. You didn't hear?
I thought he was a commentator now.
He's ring announcing. Same thing. They have a microphone.
I have one too.
Spud will be just fine. He always lands on his feet.
We saw Spud in Orlando.
Spud was at the Shenanigans party. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but also continuing in hot
topic
news.
I can't talk about.
It's next on your run sheet. Coming up here, still in hot news, folks, WWE will be adding much more content to their network. And indeed, they're going to be adding a women's tournament, much like the Cruiserweight tournament that we had in the past. And also the UK tournament will now become its own television show, a UK television show on the WWE network. Big additions to the network.
It's great because it's going to give lots of independent wrestlers opportunities to get signed contracts.
Absolutely. And folks, as you know, this past Friday night, we hosted with Kevin Nash the Shenanigans VIP party.
It was
Saturday. It was
night.
Saturday, wasn't it?
You had drank that much, you forgot what day it was.
In Orlando, Florida, at the pub at Point Orlando, a complete sellout again. And we want to thank all of you who came down and were a part of Shenanigans in Orlando. It was a tremendous event. And David, I don't I am not embellishing this when I say I truly can't even tell you who was there from a star standpoint.
Oh, I can, because I paid attention.
Okay. We had a list of like 20 or 30 names of people we knew would be there, but we didn't know.
All of a sudden, Eric Bischoff shows up.
Eric Bischoff was there.
His son Garrett, Rob Van Dam was there.
Rob Van Dam.
Hurricane Shane Helms.
Listed. Chavo Guerrero, yes. Jeff Jarrett, Eddie
Hebner.
Edwards, Earl Hebner was there as well, holding court. It was a tremendous party, and we appreciate all of you who participated and came down and joined us.
And Fluffy.
Oh, absolutely.
See,
and that's the thing, folks, at Shenanigans at the VIP party, which, of course, we'll be doing in New Orleans, if not another one before that, by the way.
Oh, don't tease.
You never know who you're going to see, and we purposely don't tell you everybody you are going to see because you always want to leave them wanting more and give them more than they expect.
Does that happen to you often? People want more?
No, the giving them more than they expect happens quite often, actually.
I just wanted to make sure we're clear.
Big thanks to everybody, and big thanks to Big Sexy Kevin Nash, and a tremendous thanks goes out to the staff at the pub at Point Orlando and all the staff at Point Orlando for all of their assistance in making it a tremendous, tremendous party event. And with that, it is now time to find out what is on the mind of one insane individual who sits next to me, David Hero, DWHS.
WrestleMania is in the books, and The Undertaker has been undertaken by Roman Reigns. And the thing that has been driving me nuts for the last several weeks, months, if not for the last year, is the way the fans get on Roman Reigns. And they pound on. They say he's not good enough. They say he's not worthy. He passed the litmus test. He was The Undertaker's last opponent. And now, yes, some people say it should have been John Cena, but Cena had other issues with The Miz. But he eventually had to agree that the guy that was going to retire him was Roman Reigns. The fans need to accept the fact that he is a talent, he's a good worker. He may not have the mic skills everybody else thinks he does, but he does.
Didn't need him on Monday.
He didn't need him at all.
And he had everybody play a fiddle.
He's got the $1 million smirk, and he knows how to work a crowd. Undertaker said it's good enough for me. And with that, David Hero has spoken.
Well spoken, David Hero, and want to remind all of you that the PWR PrimeTime podcast is available immediately following this broadcast, and you can get it for free on the iTunes and Google Play stores and Stitcher Radio. That is going to feature things such as Kurt Angle being named as the new Raw General Manager, Brock Lesnar being Raw Champion, and who's next for him, Randy Orton winning the SmackDown Championship, Bayley getting the win at Mania, John Cena proposing to Nikki Bella, and also Jim Ross's return to WWE, a list of a few of the many topics on the podcast. Why is that?
Look what happened when Daniel Bryan married to Bella. His career went in the tank.
Trying to avoid the same demise, if you will.
Exactly.
Folks, thank you very much for joining us here on Channel 14 in Milwaukee and on YouTube and, of course, on our home of Fight TV. And for that one, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow for Feedback Friday.